Namaste beta. Today we are going to start with the topic that is Bohr's atomic model, a very important topic of chapter atomic structure. When I say Bohr's atomic model, we are going to study the structure of atom. It means this model is going to explain structure of atom explained by Bohr. Explained by Bohr on the basis of quantum theory. There is quantum theory of radiations. It means this model is based on quantum theory, that means Planck's quantum theory of radiations. And according to this model, if we understand one by one each postulate of this model, बेटे इस मॉडल के अकॉर्डिंग एटम में सेंटर में क्या है? न्यूक्लियस. और न्यूक्लियस इज वेरी स्मॉल, positively charged, having protons and neutrons in it, or we can say having nucleons. What are nucleons? Nucleons are particles present inside the nucleus, and this is the nucleus, and there are shells around the nucleus in which electrons are revolving around the nucleus. It means electrons are revolving around the nucleus in various shells. The nucleus is very small, positively charged, having nucleons. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus. When I say electrons revolve around the nucleus, revolve around the nucleus in various shells, in various shells. Here very important point is shell is also named as orbits, or we can say stationary states. The shells of an atom are named as orbits or stationary state. It means electron is revolving around the nucleus in various shells or stationary states or orbits. Now electron is revolving in these shells, and these shells are named as K, L, then we have M and so on. K, L, M, N are the shells. We can say that K shell, that is first shell, N is equal to 1, L is N is equal to 2, M means N is equal to 3, N is equal to 4, and so on. Now question arises, why these are called stationary states? Is electron is going to be stationary in that? The answer is no. These are called stationary states because when electron is revolving in a shell, its energy is going to be a constant value. As long as electron is in, let us suppose, shell 1, its energy remains E1, it's going to be a stationary value for that electron. It means electron is present at this position, energy is fixed and it is E1. If electron is moving ahead and this is at this position, energy is still E1. Electron is moving further and energy is still E1. It means in stationary states, energy of the electron is going to be constant as long as electron is in the same shell. The value of energy is going to be fixed. Value of energy is going to be constant as long as electron is present in the same shell. That is the reason why electron is revolving around the shell is named as electron is revolving in stationary states. The electron is having a revolution around the nucleus, and these are named as shells or orbits or stationary states. That is the first postulate by Bohr. Now next point, after explaining first point by Bohr, he explained the next point. There is stability of atom was explained. He explained stability of atom. He told us stability of atom is because of two forces. If this is nucleus and electron is being attracted by the nucleus, but there is a centrifugal force which is acting at the tangent to this position. This is, let us suppose, F2 and this force is F1. And Bohr explained us that this F1 and F2, these two forces are equal and balancing forces. These two are going to balance each other. Therefore, electron is going to be on the same level, same shell pad. It means अगर electron यहाँ पे है तो उसके यहाँ tangential force लग जाएगी. Again, these two forces are going to be same. If electron is at this position, tangential force is at this part. It means always this F1 and F2 are going to be same. F1 is inward pull and this is the centrifugal force. So it is centrifugal force and this centripetal force which is due to charge. Electrostatic force is going to be there. According to Bohr, he told us that F1 and F2 are equal. That's why electron is not going to lose energy and take a spiral path, enter into the nucleus. As Rutherford was unable to explain the stability of atom, Bohr was in a position to explain the stability of atom. It means when Bohr explained the stability, and this was the achievement of Bohr, that he explained the stability of atom, he told us stability of atom is because of F1 is equal to F2. F1 and F2 is centrifugal force. This is going to be a centrifugal force and F1 is going to be the force of attraction by the nucleus. Force of attraction by the nucleus. Now these two forces are going to be same, balancing each other. That's why electron is stable in its shell. It's not going to lose or absorb energy as long as it is in the particular shell. Now this F1 is written as K, Q1, Q2 by R square, where K is a constant, and this F2 is mv square by R. These two forces, their magnitude is going to be same. When the magnitude of the two forces is same, atom is going to be stable or electron is going to be stable in its shell. Thus, electron is stable in its shell. F1 is going to balance F2. That is the second point by Bohr's model. We can say Bohr's postulates में आपके पास जो important point था कि उसने stability of atom को explain कर दिया था, जो कि रदरफोर्ड नहीं कर पाया था. रदरफोर्ड के मॉडल की लिमिटेशन थी कि वो स्टेबिलिटी ऑफ एटम को एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाया था, और बोहर मॉडल में हम कहते हैं स्टेबिलिटी ऑफ एटम वाज एक्सप्लेन्ड. आफ्टर दिस नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज व्हेन आई से स्टेबिलिटी ऑफ एटम वाज एक्सप्लेन्ड, so this is going to be next part, radius of a shell. He explained the term radius of a shell. When I say radius of a shell, Bohr has given us a formula, radius of nth shell. It is going to be n square h square divided by 2 pi square m e raised to power 2. 4 pi square m e raised to power 2. Radius of nth shell formula is n square h square 4 pi square m e raised to power 2 by z. As all these are constants, h is a constant, 4 is a constant, pi is a constant, m is mass of electron, e is charge of electron, Planck's constant, pi 3.14, m is mass of electron, e is charge on electron, that is the basic 1 unit charge, 1.6 10 raised to power minus 19, but it is a constant थे. तो ये सारे ही कांस्टेंट्स हैं, तो अगर हम इनको सॉल्व करें तो आ जाएगा 0.529 n square by z Armstrong. It means radius of a shell can be calculated by Bohr's model, and he told us that if we want to calculate radius of first shell of hydrogen, so it will be 0.529 into 1 square by 1. And units are Armstrong. What is 1 Armstrong? 10 raised to power minus 10 meters. Radius of second shell, it is 0.529 into 2 square by z. That is 1. Now it means this is R1 and this radius is going to be R2, which is 4 times R1. The radius of second shell is going to be 4 times that of R1. Now if I draw the third shell, the radius of third shell, that is R3, it will be 0.529 into 3 square by z, that is 1. it means 0.529 into 9. So this is going to be 9 times R1. Thus we can see that first shell is just at R1 distance, second shell is 4 times R1, third shell is at a distance of 9 times R1. Thus we can conclude that R1 ratio R2 ratio R3 is going to be 1 ratio 4 ratio 9. The radius of a shell can be easily calculated by using Bohr's atomic model, and according to Bohr's model, the formula for radius is 0.529 into n square by z Armstrong. Let us suppose we want to calculate radius of second shell of helium-1 positive. If we want to calculate radius of second shell and it is helium-1 positive, the formula is 0.529 into n square. Second shell, it means n square is 2 square, and helium-1 positive atomic number is 2. So we can write here 2. तो ये बन जाएगा 0.529 into 2. So we can say this is in Armstrong, we can calculate the value. But if this value is for radius of third shell of lithium-2 positive, this formula will become 0.529 into 3 square by 3. It means you are left with 0.529 into 3 Armstrong. बेटा बार बार 0.529 into 2 लिख रहे हैं, तो 0.529 की जगह पे हम लिख सकते हैं radius of hydrogen first shell into 2. It means radius of helium second shell is 2 times bigger than that of radius of hydrogen first shell. Or we can say that here radius is 0.529 की जगह पे क्या लिख सकते हैं? We can write here as radius of hydrogen first shell into 3. So we can write 3 times of radius of hydrogen first shell. Thus we can have the formula. We can say radius is radius of hydrogen first shell into n square by z. Radius of nth shell of any atom which is monoelectronic. यहाँ पे z क्या हो सकता है? It can be for helium it is 2, for lithium it is 3, for hydrogen it is 1 itself. It means we can put the value of z, we can calculate the radius of a shell. So I repeat, radius of second shell of helium positive, beta 0.529 into second shell into n square is 2 square, z is 2. For third shell, n is 3 square, z is 3. Now we can say that 0.529 can be written as, what is 0.529 here? It is radius of hydrogen first shell. So I have written radius of hydrogen first shell into 2. Radius of hydrogen first shell into 3. Where, what is 3 here? It is going to be n, number of shell. Thus we can calculate radius of shell in monoelectronic species. That is the another point, another postulate by Bohr. Next we have is angular momentum. Bohr told us that angular momentum is a term which can be used for atom electronic movement. The angular momentum. Now first of all in +1 class, बेटा angular momentum होता क्या है? आप सबको ये पता है momentum क्या है? हमें पता है momentum होता है mass and velocity multiple. When I say a particle is moving in a circular path, it has mass, velocity, and when I say mass, velocity and a radius is also there. So we can say it is moving with some velocity v. Mass is m, velocity is v, radius is r. So angular momentum of a particle which is moving on a circular path, so we can say angular momentum. There is another term, angular momentum. When I say angular momentum, it is m into v into r, mass into velocity into radius. MVR is angular momentum. This angular momentum, MVR, is always an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. Bohr told us that angular momentum of a shell is always an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. That means n can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. N cannot be fractional. N cannot be fractional at all. And zero shell is not possible. Angular momentum is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, where h upon 2 pi is a constant. So we can say that it is integral multiple of h cap, h bar. When I say h bar, h bar can be written as h upon 2 pi. This is another constant, h bar, which is equal to h upon 2 pi. So we can say mvr is equal to nh bar. अब बोहर ने हमें क्या कहा? बोहर told us that in a shell, first shell, then second shell, third shell, fourth shell, fifth shell, angular momentum is going to be a integral multiple. That means here it is 1h upon 2 pi, 2h upon 2 pi, now 3h upon 2 pi, 4h upon 2 pi, 5h upon 2 pi. Only those shells are permitted in which angular momentum of electron is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. It means only those shells are going to be permitted, means electron can be at this position where h upon 2 pi is the angular momentum. It cannot be here in the between the two shells. It can be second time it will exist in the level or at the distance where h upon 2 pi की बजाय क्या बन जाएगा 2h upon 2 pi. That means h upon pi is the angular momentum. It means only those shells are permitted. We can say only those shells are permitted. Shells are permitted for which n is integral value. तो इलेक्ट्रॉन कैन नॉट बी बिटवीन द शेल्स. इलेक्ट्रॉन की एंगुलर मोमेंटम जो है वो h upon 2 pi का इंटीग्रल मल्टीपल ही रहेगा. This can be named as angular momentum is quantized. We can say that he want to say that angular momentum is quantized. Angular momentum एक quantized value है. Quantized का मतलब समझते हो ना? Quantized means integral multiple. For example, stairs are quantized. सीढ़ियाँ quantized है. Either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. We can't be on 1.5 stair. We can't be on a ladder at 1.5 stair level. हम क्या कहते हैं? हम फर्स्ट सीढ़ी पे हैं या सेकंड पे या थर्ड पे या फोर्थ पे. हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि हम 1 और 2 के बीच में कहीं खड़े हैं. In the same manner, quantization of energy is there, or we can say in the same manner, angular momentum is quantized. ये बोहर का हमारा अगला postulate था about angular momentum. After angular momentum, he explained us energy of electron. He explained energy of electron, and this point of energy is very important for electron. Electronic energy is taken as zero. First part, electronic energy. We can say that energy of electron is taken as zero at infinite distance. That means at infinity. And this is the maximum energy of an electron. एक इलेक्ट्रॉन की ये मैक्सिमम एनर्जी है. अब इंफिनिटी पे यानी E infinity is equal to 0. If this is the nucleus, first shell, second shell, third shell, and that is infinity level. When electron is at infinity, its energy is 0, and if it is present in the first shell, from 0 to first shell, it is going to release some energy. When electron is jumping from higher shell to lower shell, it is leading to release of energy. यानी अगर इलेक्ट्रॉन इंफिनिटी पे है तो उसकी एनर्जी 0 है, और अगर इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ फर्स्ट शेल में आ गया तो 0 में से कुछ रिलीज करके आएगा. It means in first shell, when we say n1 is equal to 1, energy of electron must be negative energy. If electron is coming to this second shell, its energy is again negative, but now it can be minus E2. If electron is coming to this third shell, its energy will be minus E3. It means for every jump there is a fixed value of release of energy. यानी 0 से E1 पे आना है फर्स्ट शेल में तो minus E1, minus E2, minus E3, because we know that 0 minus energy is equal to minus energy. So answer is going to be negative. So why electronic energy is taken as a negative value? Reason for that is at infinity energy is 0, which is maximum energy of the electron. And जब वो इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ से वापस किसी शेल में प्रेजेंट है तो डेफिनेटली इट हैज अ नेगेटिव वैल्यू ऑफ एनर्जी. and E1 is the minimum energy of the electron. The minimum energy of the electron is in first shell, यानी इस शेल में आने के बाद इलेक्ट्रॉन एनर्जी रिलीज नहीं कर सकता. अगर इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ आ जाता है, it cannot release energy because after this it will enter into the nucleus, which is leading to collapse of the atom. तो इलेक्ट्रॉन की मिनिमम एनर्जी क्या है? It is minimum energy is E1. Infinity 0, E1 negative, E2 negative, E3 negative. Now, value of energy. He told us the formula. Energy is minus 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 z square divided by n square h square. According to Bohr, formula of energy of electron in a shell is going to be minus 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 z square n square upon n square h square. This is the formula of energy, and we can solve these constants. 2 is a constant, pi is a constant, m is mass of electron, E is charge of electron, Z is atomic number, H is Planck's constant, N is number of shell. And we can calculate energy of electron in a shell. Now, when we calculate this energy of electron in a shell, energy of electron is calculated as a value, a magnitude of the energy is calculated as. Let us suppose we have the formula with us, and now energy of electron in nth shell, which I have written minus 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 divided by, it is z square, n square, h square is on the division part. But इसको solve करेंगे, all these constants are solved, or we can say all these constants are solved as minus 13.6 into z square by n square, and it is in electron volt per atom. It will be equal to minus 2.18 10 raised to power minus 18 z square by n square. Now it is in joule per atom. For one atom in joules. And if it is minus 1312 z square by n square, now it is in kilojoule per mole. So we can calculate energy of nth shell. Energy of nth shell, negative value is going to be there, and this value can be calculated in any unit system, electron volt per atom or joule per atom or kilojoules per atom. 1 electron volt, you must remember this unit conversion, 1 electron volt is 1.6 10 raised to power minus 19 joules. So we can have this energy formula and energy conversions. Let us suppose hydrogen, this is atom. Energy of first shell is minus 13.6 into 1 square by 1 square. Energy of second shell is minus 13.6 by 4. Energy of third shell is minus 13.6 by 9. It means this is minus 13.6. It will be minus 3.4 minus 1.5. E4 we can calculate. It is minus 13.6 by 16 minus 0.85. In electron volt, we have calculated energy in electron volt per atom. Now 13.6 with negative sign, 3.4 with negative sign, minus 1.5, minus 1.85. It means energy is going to increase. Energy increases as we move away from nucleus. बेटे जैसे जैसे आप न्यूक्लियस से दूर जा रहे हो, इलेक्ट्रॉन की एनर्जी इंक्रीज कर रही है, और ये मैक्सिमम कब हो जाएगी? व्हेन वी रीच एट इंफिनिटी. तो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक एनर्जी इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज वन बाय वन. एनर्जी इज इंक्रीजिंग, बिकम्स मैक्सिमम एट इंफिनिटी, एंड वैल्यू इज नेगेटिव. So this is about energy and its concept of energy formula. Now when we got this idea of energy of a shell, it means energy of a shell, we have calculated the values also. Now can we understand the concept of energy gap? If this is minus 13.6 and this is minus 3.4 and here it is minus 1.5 in electron volt per atom. This gap, this energy gap is of 10.2 electron volt. How we can know? 13.6 minus 3.4. This gap is going to be 1.5, 3.4, it is 1.9 electron volt. This total gap will become 12.1 electron volt. It means we can calculate energy gap as well. From energy formula, we can calculate energy gap between the shells. Now he concluded that when we calculate this energy gap, delta E, it will be 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 divided by, it is h square 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square. Difference between the energy of second shell and the first shell. Energy difference we can calculate. But this constant, as energy gap cannot be taken as negative, so I have taken a positive energy gap. Energy gap is 13.6 into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square. Or this is in electron volt per atom. Or we can calculate as 2.18 10 raised to power minus 18 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square z square joule per atom. Or the another unit system, what is the value? 1312. It is 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square, and now it is in kilojoule per mole. It should be kilojoule per mole. This constant is going to change. Rest formula is going to be same, and how we obtain this formula, I have just taken the difference between the two shells energy. Z is common, I have taken out. This part is common, I have taken out. 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. The energy gap can be calculated, and from this diagram it is very much clear that with the first energy gap between the first and 2 is 10.2. Second time the gap is just 1.9. Can you imagine this gap is going to decrease further? अब आपके पास ये गैप धीरे धीरे कम होता जाएगा, क्योंकि अब यहाँ आ गया 0.85, तो 0.85 और 1.5 के बीच का डिफरेंस, तो एनर्जी गैप डिक्रीजेस. That is the reason when I draw an atom, I always try to draw this type of picture. It means this picture is indicating that energy gap is decreasing. Slowly and slowly, shells are coming close in terms of energy, not in terms of distance. बेटा डिस्टेंस की टर्म में तो R1 और R2 के बीच में 4 टाइम्स का डिफरेंस था. डिस्टेंस की टर्म में थर्ड शेल 9 टाइम्स बड़ी थी एज कंपेयर टू फर्स्ट शेल. बट एनर्जी गैप की टर्म में आप ये कह सकते हो ये जो गैप है ये धीरे धीरे क्या होता जा रहा है, कम होता जा रहा है. तो एनर्जी गैप डिक्रीजेस एज वी मूव अवे फ्रॉम द न्यूक्लियस. एज वी मूव अवे फ्रॉम न्यूक्लियस. इज इट क्लियर? So now this is about energy and energy gap. We have understood that concept कि energy खुद क्या कर रही है, energy is increasing, but energy gap क्या कर रहा है, energy gap is decreasing. So as we are moving away from the nucleus, energy increases, energy gap decreases. Can you imagine? There is a gap between first and second shell. You understand it? And there is a gap between second and infinity. Yes. If I calculate first and second shell and then infinity, this gap is going to be 13.6 minus 3.4. This is 10.2 electron volt. And this 2 to infinity, this gap is going to be just 0 because energy at infinity is 0. Now this is 0 energy, 0 and 3.4 minus 3.4. This is 3.4 electron volt. Which gap is bigger? First to second or second to infinity? So first to second is a bigger gap, energy gap as compared to second to infinity. यानी इलेक्ट्रॉन के लिए पहली शेल से सेकंड शेल में जाना मुश्किल है, लेकिन सेकंड से इन्फिनिटी में जाना उसके लिए आसान है. तो एनर्जी गैप का कॉन्सेप्ट देखें तो आपके पास ये जंप ज्यादा मुश्किल है एज कंपेयर टू यहां से इन्फिनिटी तक जाने के लिए कम मुश्किल लगेगा. तो दिस इज कंसेप्ट ऑफ एनर्जी गैप अकॉर्डिंग टू बोहर. The Bohr's model, structure of atom explained by him, energy concept was explained by him, a very well explained energy formula and then energy values. After this energy concept or energy formula, now as we have done this delta E is equal to 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 divided by h square 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square. Delta E is written as h nu. It can be written as hc by lambda. we can say 1 by lambda can be calculated if all this formula is copied as such. Now we can say that it will become 2 pi square m e raised to power 4 divided by h and c are coming down, h cube c. 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square. And this formula is called Rydberg's formula or Ritz equation. It is Rydberg's formula or Ritz equation. This formula in its application, how to use this formula, I have explained in my another video on hydrogen spectrum. This formula is used for calculating wave number of electronic transition in hydrogen spectrum. Once again I announce this hydrogen spectrum I have explained in another video. You can just go for that video for hydrogen spectrum and its detailed understanding. And this was again one more important achievement of Bohr, that he explained hydrogen spectrum. So Bohr explained hydrogen spectrum, and another achievement of Bohr. This formula is Rydberg's formula, and this constant is called Rydberg's constant R. Value of R is 1109677 centimeter inverse, or we can say 1.09677 into 10 raised to power 7 meter inverse. This is how energy formula can be related to the wave number formula by Bohr, and this is Bohr's model energy concept. After this concept of energy and the wave number concept, next is velocity of electron. Now Bohr explained velocity of electron. He calculated the value of velocity as 2.18 10 raised to power 6 z by n meter per second. It means as hydrogen is the one atom, shell is one shell, first shell, second shell, third shell, and so on. Electron is having velocity v1, here velocity is v2, velocity is v3. So where electron is having fast velocity? In first shell, second shell, or third shell. The electron will move fast in first shell because it is under the influence of nucleus. Nucleus is very close to it. It has to move strongly. Fast movement should be there. Fast movement is required so that its F1 and F2 should be cancelled, can be equal. The velocity of electron in first shell is very large. It means V1 is bigger than V2 is bigger than V3. If it is helium-1 positive and velocity is V1 dash, helium is having atomic number 2. Now atomic number बढ़ेगा तो velocity फिर से क्या हो जाएगी? Increase. यानी V1 dash is going to be bigger than V1. यानी helium का electron ज़्यादा speed से भाग रहा होगा as compared to the electron of hydrogen. The velocity of electron of hydrogen is going to be slower as compared to velocity of electron of helium-1 positive in first shell. That is about formula of velocity. Now, as this is a circle, we are talking about a shell, circular shell, and this is the radius. Its circumference will be 2 pi r. There is circumference of this shell. In case we want to calculate number, yani if this is a distance to be traveled, and we have velocity also. Velocity and distance is there. So time period, time taken for one revolution. If the question is time taken for one revolution, it will be time taken for one revolution will be 2 pi r divided by velocity. Right? Distance upon time is velocity. It means time can be calculated as 2 pi r by velocity. So time is 2 pi r by velocity. And 1 by time, it will be v upon 2 pi r. And what is 1 upon T? It is number of revolutions per unit time. Number of revolutions per unit time. That is 1 by T. It means when we explain the velocity formula by Bohr, velocity of electron, after that we can relate it to the time taken for one revolution. We can also calculate number of revolutions per unit time by the electron in atom. That is about velocity, time period and number of revolutions. After these formulas, now we move on to the cause of spectrum. Cause of spectrum was explained by Bohr. Cause of atomic spectrum explained by Bohr. He explained us that electron, if is present in higher shell and is coming to the lower shell, that means ground state, it will release energy. The electron will release energy, release of energy when electron jumps from excited state to ground state. राइट जब ऐसा होगा बेटा कि हायर शेल से लोअर शेल की तरफ जा रहे हैं और एनर्जी रिलीज हो रही है, तो आप कहोगे यहां बनेगा एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रम. तो व्हाई डू वी हैव एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रम फॉर्मेशन? तो एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रम इज फॉर्म्ड whenever electron is going to take a leap or jump from higher shell to lower shell. And reverse is also true. If electron is coming from higher to lower, it can go from lower to higher also. If electron is going from lower shell to higher shell, to second, to third, or to fourth, or to fifth, any shell, if electron is jumping from lower shell to higher shell, it will definitely absorb some energy. The energy is being absorbed by the electron. Absorb energy. Absorb energy to jump from lower shell to higher shell. That means absorption spectrum will be formed. So this is cause of absorption spectrum. This is cause of emission spectrum. Thus, as long as electron is in the same shell, it will have the same fixed energy. We can say stationary states or stationary levels. Then in every shell, energy is going to be different. Electron will absorb a fixed amount of energy and will jump to the higher shell. And then after jumping to the higher shell, from the lower to higher shell we get absorption spectrum. From higher to lower shell we get emission spectrum. यानी इलेक्ट्रॉन अगर 1 से 4th में गया तो आपको होगा absorption spectrum. 7 to 1 में आ गया emission spectrum. 7 to 6 आ गया emission spectrum. So this way we can have cause of atomic spectrum explained by Bohr. This topic is totally explained, thoroughly explained by Bohr. That's why it's again achievement of Bohr. So Bohr has a very wonderful model given to us. He had given us a Bohr's atomic model. In this model, he explained the stability of atom. Very good. He explained cause of spectrum. Correct. He explained hydrogen spectrum very well. He explained energy of electron in a shell very well. Even velocity, radius, and so on. But later on, as we move further with some other theories, we have rejected this model and there are some limitations. We have now some limitations of this model of Bohr. Before we move on to the limitations of Bohr's model, let us suppose we want to do the limitations. Let's sum up the model. If you want to learn this model, you must have a single diagram and you must remember the model in one single diagram. MVR is equal to NH upon 2 pi. Radius of NH shell 0.529 into n square pi z Armstrong. Velocity of electron in NH shell 2.18 10 raised to power 6 z by n meter per second. Angular momentum, radius, velocity, and then we have formula of energy. En, it is going to be minus 13.6 z square upon n square electron volt per atom. These are the important formulas by Bohr. This is the nucleus in the center part. Energy increases as we move away, and energy gap delta E. The energy gap decreases. Energy gap decreases as we move away. Shells are named as shells or stationary states because energy is going to be constant. And electron, if it is going to jump from higher to lower level, the release of energy. And if it is jumping from lower to higher shell, they are going to absorb energy. The energy is being absorbed, E dash or E double dash, that's cause of spectrum of atom. This is the complete explanation of the model. We must remember these important points. Here the constant can be variable. This constant can be taken as 2.18 10 raised to power minus 18. अगर आपको किसमें लेना है joule per atom. If you want to take it in 1312, it will be in kilojoule per mole. So thus we can have this model of atom that is called Bohr's model based on a very important theory, quantum theory of energy radiations. So that's about Bohr's model. Now we are going to do limitations of this model. This wonderful model given by Bohr was rejected. When we say this model was rejected due to some limitations of Bohr's atomic model, and these limitations are: limitations are going to be, first limitation, this model is applicable only on monoelectronic systems. ये मॉडल सिर्फ मोनो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिस्टम्स पे वैलिड है. फॉर हाइड्रोजन, फॉर हीलियम 1 पॉजिटिव, फॉर लिथियम 2 पॉजिटिव, फॉर बेरिलियम 3 पॉजिटिव. वो सिस्टम्स जिनमें एक इलेक्ट्रॉन होता है, 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन सिस्टम्स, मोनो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक. यानी जितने भी फॉर्मूलाज हमने किए, जैसे ये फॉर्मूला डेल्टा ई, आपने कहा कांस्टेंट 13.6, 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square into z square. तो ये z किसका हो सकता है? इन 4 पार्टिकल्स का जिनपे एक इलेक्ट्रॉन है. यानी पॉली इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिस्टम्स के लिए ये मॉडल टोटल फेल हो चुका था. सेकेंड लिमिटेशन आपके पास है, could not explain पॉली इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्पेक्ट्रम. ये मॉडल पॉली इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्पेक्ट्रम को एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाया था. पॉली इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्पेक्ट्रम मतलब सोडियम का स्पेक्ट्रम, पोटेशियम स्पेक्ट्रम, lithium spectrum, a spectrum in which more than one electron is there. In those spectrum, how many lines will be formed? What are the type of lines? Not explained by Bohr. He was in a position to explain hydrogen spectrum, or monoelectronic spectrum was explained. I explained this hydrogen spectrum or monoelectronic spectrum in my another video. Now, this spectrum, this was explained by Bohr, achievement, but polyelectronic spectrum not explained by Bohr, a failure. Third limitation, could not explain Zeeman effect, could not explain Stark's effect. What is Zeeman effect? Zeeman effect is when spectrum is studied in magnetic field. That means in presence of magnetic field, if we understand or we try to study the spectrum of atom, lines are going to split. So we can say splitting of spectral lines. Splitting of spectral lines in magnetic field. And Stark's effect is splitting of spectral lines in electric field. These two were not explained by Bohr. Bohr was not in a position to explain why this splitting is going to be there. यानी अगर लाइन स्प्लिट कर रही है, स्पेक्ट्रम स्प्लिट कर रहा है, why this splitting is going to be there, not explained by Bohr at all. 4 limitations. Fifth limitation is not in accordance with de Broglie's dual nature of matter. De Broglie's dual nature of matter. This model was not in accordance with de Broglie's dual nature. यानी इस मॉडल में de Broglie's dual nature के साथ कोई रिलेशनशिप समझ नहीं आ रहा था. De Broglie's dual nature of matter was explained later on, but we must understand that there was a concept of de Broglie's dual nature. उस concept के according बोहर्स का model गलत था, rejected था, और इस concept के according बोहर का model ठीक नहीं था. It means Bohr model is going to be rejected. And sixth limitation is not in accordance with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. ये मॉडल Heisenberg uncertainty principle को भी obey नहीं कर पा रहा था, और this model is having 6 important limitations, not according with de Broglie's, not according to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and thus overall this model of atom was rejected. In my next video, I am going to explain de Broglie's dual nature of matter, and then I'll explain Heisenberg uncertainty principle. What are these two important principles due to which we have rejected this important model of an atom, that is Bohr's atomic model. The next video, you can go in my YouTube channel, you can just see that video about de Broglie's dual nature and hydrogen spectrum as well. Okay ji, thank you beta, thanks for the class.